Ved Pranam Mantra. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. So, we are supposed to start the next section on loving God. How our sages looked at God and how they loved God. In return, how they expected to be loved by God. But before that, I just wanted to cover two more mantras. It was on getting rid of the bad dreams. Because, see, many of us get bad dreams. I met many people who used to have extremely bad dreams and sometimes pretty violent ones. And that could be quite terrifying for many. Now, what is very interesting to me, and it would definitely appear quite interesting to you too, that even during the Vedic times, people went to the sages with this problem. Because, see, today we have counselors, we have psychiatrists, people go to them. But traditionally, the sages have been the counselors because a lot of our problems are rooted in our spiritual disconnect. See, my favorite saying is a nation can be secular, a society can be secular, but a person must not be secular because the moment you think yourself to be secular, without your knowing, slowly values will drop away from you. There have been some very famous philosophers in earlier times, and even during Swami Vivekananda's time, there were some famous philosophers who talked about morality and values without religion. But Swamiji repeatedly asserted that there cannot be values without religion. See, one or two persons may be good who can have values without religion, but if you expect a society to be established in values, even though they may not be religious, that's not possible. It's a far cry. It indeed is far cry. And a lot of maladies that you see in the society, practically all over the world, it's simply because people have developed a very deep disconnect from spirituality. Even though they may be going to the temples, they may be into rituals, but spirituality, where you firmly believe that there is God and you're connected with God in whatever form. When you have that feeling, then slowly, you like to orient your life in such a way that your life will be on tracks. Otherwise, derailing is the norm and accidents are bound to happen in your life. So these sages, these sages, they were the real counselors because whenever people went to them with some problem, particularly the problems that arose from within, and they had the mantra for everything. It's very difficult to say how well these mantras worked on an individual, but I'm sure that if somebody prayed with all sincerity and all devotion, that particular prayer and thinking about what exactly it implies, I'm sure these prayers gave results because we know how Gayatri mantra is such a powerful mantra. Indeed, it gives you a bright mind. Then we have Shiva mantra, Trayambakam Yajame Mahamrityunjay mantra. So if these mantras are indeed powerful and effective, there is no reason why other mantras shouldn't be effective. When a person like Shankaracharya treats Veda as infallible in spiritual matters, there is no reason why we should be doubting it. So it says, the name for it is Dusswapna Gnam. Gna is to kill, killing the bad dreams. Apehi mansaspate apakrama parashara paro nritya achaksha bodha jivto mana. Just to remind you that what we are doing belongs to the earlier section, life in Vedic times. And some of the thoughts that you come across in the Ved, it's amazing. It says, a living mind has many desires. That's the crux of this prayer. Because if you don't have desire, how can you be alive? See, for example, let's take the case of Sri Ramakrishna. When we took his mind away from his disciples, he went into samadhi. Now, he could go into samadhi because he was avatar. A great saint, he may enter samadhi if he doesn't apply his mind to this world. But ordinary saints, and even a struggling sadhaka, they cannot live without desires. So anyway, when Sri Ramakrishna was living this world, he said, he also had desire of what? To be with devotees, to talk to them, to be with them. Mind means desire. If there is no desire, either mind will go into samadhi, but that's not possible for everyone, or it will go crazy, complete crazy. You have to have desires. Those desires may be simple, those desires may be deep. But desires are the sign that you have a living mind. Because desires take you forward, desires take you towards perfection. It says, Mansaspate. So, oh Lord, go away. Move away to a distant land. Go and look at Nirti, who stays far away. Nirti was the evil force. Tell her that a living mind has many desires. Mansaspati is the Lord of the mind. He's being requested that, look, I'm getting bad dreams. If I keep on getting bad dreams, how will I survive? The goddess of all these evil things is Nirti. So the devotee prays that, ask Nirti to stay away from me because a living mind has many desires. I need to do a lot. I need to grow. I need to achieve. So please stay away from me. So, well, that's the idea. This prayer shows how these Vedic people are extremely conscious of keeping themselves healthy, both physically and mentally. And then there is this one. This one was from Rig Veda 164, and in the same hymn, that is third, is Yad ashasa nishasa avishasa uparima jagrato yat swapantah agni vishwani ap duskritani ayustani are asmat dadhatu. In the previous mantra, the blame was on Nirti, who is pretty evil force. But now, the blame is being brought upon oneself. We alone are responsible for all the bad things that happen to us. And those of you who are deep into psychology would know that Sigmund Freud, who popularized psychology and psychiatry, they were there even before him, but he popularized them. And he wrote a wonderful book on dreams, analysis of dreams. It's a hugely defective work because Sigmund Freud, he tries to analyze dreams through the twin lenses of libido and mortido, the desire to make love and desire to hurt others. I read that book when I was pretty young, and even at that time, I felt that it's quite defective. Of course, I didn't have understanding of things, but later on, I read lots of books and I realized how defective his ideas were. Even Bertrand Russell has criticized Sigmund Freud for lots of wrong ideas. However, that does not mean that Sigmund Freud has to be completely discounted. No, no. He gave us some wonderful ideas, some wonderful terms, which implied that whatever you do, it stays in your unconscious. And from there, ideas like collective unconscious, etc., came. Actually, I'm not a great admirer of Western psychology. But what Freud was saying that somewhere we are responsible for what our unconscious thoughts are and what we get in our dreams. Somehow we are responsible. And he was definitely right about it. Just that in our case, we'll take it to previous births too. That we have been accumulating sanskaras, deep impressions, for many births. Whenever they get a chance, they germinate, and we can see the result. When you look at somebody's life, you realize what that person's thoughts have been over the births, not over the years, over the births. Interestingly, if you try to remember your dreams, many people say that they don't remember dreams, but that's not true. They don't get dreams. Actually, some people remember dreams, some don't. But as you grow, you start remembering the dreams much more because your control over mind becomes a bit low. Then people who sleep a lot, they dream a lot, and they remember a lot. If you keep on analyzing your dreams, I mean, you don't have to go crazy about it, but a little bit of thinking is good because it gives you a peep into how your unconscious is working. What Rigved here says, something amazing. Whatever sin we may have committed, now here very clearly it says that if I get bad dreams where you feel terrified, you feel as if you're losing something, most importantly, you feel trapped. There was a time when I was going through some bad times. I mean, these things happen. And I remember a very funny dream that used to come to me every now and then was that I'm in some kind of room. It's a very nice room and everything is good. But there is no staircase to come out of that room and go to the next floor. It's very funny. And then I realized that I'm feeling mentally trapped. Similarly, I used to have a very funny dream, and that was when I was a young monk. I asked one of my senior monks what it means. He said, "Don't take these things very seriously." But it was very interesting. It was as if I'm running in an open field, just running. And while running, I'm becoming so light that I'm able to run in the air itself. That means I've left the ground and keep running upward. Not flying, mind it, running. Which means that my density must be lighter than that of air. That's the only way you can run. Well, it might mean some kind of aspirations. But here, this one says that if you are constantly getting bad dreams, and indeed, if you people are scared of your bad dreams, where you feel that you are losing something, you are getting drowned, you are trapped, things like that, I think you should pray this one. Yat asasa nishasa abhishasa. It says, whatever sin we may have committed, there's absolutely no possibility of getting a bad dream unless you have committed a sin. The idea, what is a sin? Well, in Hindu religion, sin is not an act that you commit against the will of God as dictated by a prophet in some book. Sin is what you feel to be wrong and what the society in which you live considers to be wrong. Because think of a spy, an Indian spy. He's working to save the country. He might be in one of the enemy countries. Naturally, he will be lying. Unless he lies, unless he tricks the enemy, he cannot survive. Will you call that sin? No, it cannot be sin. Because it's not sin for him, it's not sin for the society in which he lives. But for an onlooker like us, and mind it, these onlookers are silly. Stupid is the right word for them. They may pass judgment. Who cares? Because ultimately, when it comes to the rightness of thing, ultimately, when it comes to whether or not a thing is right or wrong, it is your own conscience. No sacred book, no scripture is the ultimate in telling you what's right, what's wrong. You might remember a famous story of two Christian monks. You know, this story is current in various forms. Some places it's called Buddhist monks. It makes no difference. There was a beautiful lady sitting on the bank of a river and crying, and then two monks came, and they were wading through water, and this lady was not able to go through, and the idea was she had to go to the next village, and she was not able to go. Then one monk asked her to sit on her shoulder, and he took him across, put him down, and went their way. Later at night, the other monk said, "Look, I feel so upset being a monk. How could you take a woman on your shoulders?" This monk said, "I kept her down on the bank of the river and you're still carrying her." Well, I found this story very interesting because I like to help people. But I was once talking to one of my juniors. I mean, he was just 4 or 5 years junior to me, and that's long back, that in 80s. And he straight away said that he's fully in sympathy with the other monk who criticized it. He said, neither I will do that thing, nor will I ever approve of that. So, see, ultimately, it's your own conscience that decides what is right, what is wrong. And that's why in Christian religion, there's this wonderful system of confessions. When you do something wrong, if you feel that your conscience is pricking you, you go to a church, meet a father, and confess to whatever you have done. And as for penance, whatever he suggests you do and you feel free. Sri Ramakrishna also says that you pray to your Easter, go to a temple and pray before God and promise not to do that again. That cleanses you. The best kind of penance is when you repent. There can be no better penance. Like in Manusmriti and other places, you will find lots of penances prescribed for different kinds of mistakes. But ultimately, it's repentance. Nothing like repentance. However, sometimes the residue of sin continues to be in the mind, and that is when the trouble begins. It haunts you. Sometimes in your memories, sometimes in your imagination, and worse, as nightmares. Things keep coming to you in as bad dreams. So it says, whatever sin we may have committed. Why do you commit sin? It says, in anticipation. You hope to get something and you commit a sin. People want good jobs, nice jobs. Sometimes they fake their resume. They write wrong things. And then it may so happen that later their conscience may prick that it was not proper to do. And it may start haunting them. So it says, whatever sin we may have committed in anticipation, yet ashasa, you were hoping to get something in anticipation, you did. Or nishasa, with or without expectation. Such a wonderful expressions. Ashasa, nishasa. There might have been expectation, or it might have been a casual act. Sometimes we commit wrong things and we are pretty casual about it. In your defense, you can say that, well, you had no ill motive, but that was the wrong thing to do. It says, Upariyam jagrato yat swapantaha, with or without nishasa, abhishasa. There might have been expectation, there may not have been expectation. And either in waking or sleeping, every area is being covered. Agni Vishwani up duskritani ajustani are asmat dadhatu. O Agni, prayer is to Agni now. Remove all such hateful sins far from us. So ultimately, you're back to the prayers. You're praying, O Lord, O Lord, may my sins go away from me. Now, unless sins go away, there's no possibility that your sleep will be uninterrupted. There will be bad dreams, etc., etc. And then I also promised to one more prayer. It was about the departed soul. Before that, there is one, let me mention it because we are discussing life during the Vedic times. There are two terms, Sabha and Samiti. These were used interchangeably. Surprisingly, basically it means congregation, some kind, as we have, say, in parliament, in assembly, or any kind of gathering. Surprisingly, they were treated as daughters of Prajapati, that is Brahma. So every kind of congregation has some kind of religious value. It's a very, very interesting, I mean, really, nothing like Ved. I request you people that if not any other book, at least you should read this book, Veda Vihangam. It gives you a beautiful glimpse of what the Ved contain. What is Hindu life about? Like Sri Ramakrishna also said that when there is a congregation of many people, particularly for religious purposes, it's as if God Himself is present there. And that is why it's customary to make pranams when you stand before a crowd to speak. Very interesting thing is that when you stand before this assembly, whatever kind of assembly that might be, you may be tempted to say something right, something wrong, etc., etc. The prayer is that you should be able to speak correctly, number one. Number two, you may be a winner. How I wish our parliamentarians in India, they knew about this mantra and prayed every day. Sabha chama samitischavatam prajapatir duhitaro samvidane yena sangacha upamasa siksha charu vadani pitara sangateshu. May the assembly and the council, these are actually interchangeable terms, sometimes say smaller congregation, sometimes larger. Sabha is larger, Samiti is smaller. The two daughters of Prajapati be in concord and protect me. Because when you're speaking before crowd, anything may happen. Those who might have read Shakespeare's Julius Caesar would remember famous speech by Mark Antony. Our Shakespeare immortalized him. Crowd can go any way. You may deliver a beautiful speech, but somebody comes after you and demolishes your points. And hence the prayer, the two daughters of Prajapati, be in concord and protect me. May everyone I meet guide me. And dear ancestors, this is a very interesting thing. Pitaraha, a prayer is to your dead ancestors who are always looking at you. May I speak well in the meeting. It just gives you an idea of how our ancestors looked at public speaking. People of Greece, not only Greece, but many other areas, but of course of Athens, they were extremely famous for practicing oratory. And oratory is still valued. And you'll find that Those who can speak very well, they become extremely famous. In our own times, our former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru was considered to be a great orator. Oratory is something, it's a very big heart, very big heart. It says, dear ancestors, may I speak well in the meetings. You might remember when Swami Vivekananda addressed that famous Chicago crowd with Sisters and Brothers of America. Swamiji was little apprehensive. He was little scared. Scared not in the sense that we understand. I mean, he was apprehensive. He was a bit nervous. And then finally, when he was told for the last time to get up and speak, he prayed to Mother Saraswati and began with Sisters and Brothers of America. The immortal words. And the congregation became extremely benevolent towards him. And that's why you might have read how the crowd ran towards him just to touch his garment. Here the idea is that the collective mind that is there in a Sabha or Samiti, it may be tuned to his own thoughts. Unless the assembly is tuned to your thoughts, no one will accept your thoughts. It's not possible. Like here we are delivering talks on YouTube. People who are listening, they are individuals. And only those people will listen who are tuned to it. But when you are in an assembly, when you are addressing a crowd, not everyone will be tuned to your thoughts. So that's the prayer. But the last one, which we want to cover in this, prayer for the departed. Bhava Vritta, it's known as. And you know how, this is also from 10th book of Rig Veda. Many of us may not value our life, but we value the life of our dear ones. You may have deep love for your maybe father, mother, brother, or someone near to you. And that person has departed for wherever. How should you pray for the departed soul? This prayer is such a beautiful thing. Soma ekebhya pavate, nritam eka upasate, yebhyo madhu pradhavati, tanachit evapi gacchatat. This is in Rig Veda, hymn number 154. Soma flows for some. It said that people who were conversant with Sam Ved, who were totally dedicated to it, they went to that kind of heaven, that particular heaven, where Soma flowed for them, Somras. Somras was some kind of a divine drink which made people healthy and are gods. They are supposed to be a very good drinker of Soma. It's not wine, some kind of divine drink. There is this wonderful concept of land of milk and honey. Just like that for them, Soma was there. So the land where there is Soma. These are the Brahmins who were well established in the knowledge of Sāma Veda. So this is kind of very high heaven. And ghee for others. Ghee for others, ghee for Yajurvedins. Those who were into Yajurveda, they poured ghee as oblation to fire. So you get ghee. Same as milk and honey, land of milk and honey. Honey for yet others. Atharvedin, those who followed Atharved, for them, it was land of honey. There might be some inner meaning to all this, and it's so difficult to know if there was some inner meaning. Simple meaning is that people who were established in the Vedic knowledge, only the only the really good ones would be established in the knowledge of the Ved. It's not like physics, chemistry that anybody can master it. It's about getting established in that knowledge. You have to have your way of life that would be in consonance with that Ved. Where do you go after you die? To the land of Soma, to the land of ghee, to the land of honey. Simply, the simple meaning is that you go to the high heavens. And says, may you, O departed one, attain those lokas. Here, then there is again, we have taken just one. In that hymn, said that those who fight bravely in battle and attain the death of the valorous, the lok where the lok to which these people go, may you attain that. Here, simply that the Brahmins were highly respected, as you know, in those days. To whatever loka they go, lok means sphere of existence. It's not somewhere up the way we think in the stars and the moon, etc. It's a sphere. O departed one, O my dear one, I pray. I pray that you attain to the highest heaven. That means, now of course, you will be born after some time. But during the wait period, you will surely be in some heaven. What kind of heaven? Well, go to the heaven where Samvedins go. Go to the heaven where Yajurvedins go. And go to the Ved where Atharvedins go. So that's the idea that, O dear departed one, may you attain the highest of heaven. So with that section over, we will now be going to the next section where how to love God, what kind of love you expect, and what kind of love you are expected to have towards God. The discussion will be on that. And this is a very beautiful section because ultimately, when we think of religious books, when we think of sacred books, when we think of the Ved, naturally we think of devotion, naturally we think of God, and naturally we think of our own connection with God. So the kind of prayers that the Ved have for a devotee, this comes now, and it begins with first one, may God come to me. It's also from 10th book of Rig Veda. Actually, in the 10th book, the assorted prayers are pretty assorted. There are different kind of prayers addressed to different gods, and topics are various. Gava iva gramam yudi iva ashwana vashreva vatsam sumana duhana patiriva jayam vi no nitu dharta diva savita vishwavaraha. Oh God, come to me. It's a beautiful topic. Oh God, come to me. It's not about bless me with children, bless me with wealth, give me wealth, give me. It says pure, unalloyed love, pure, unalloyed devotion. Oh Lord, come to me. How and why? Gava iva gramam yudhi. Gava iva gramam yudhi iva shwan. Vashe vatsam sumana duhana. Those of you might have lived in a village, particularly some years ago. Nowadays, I don't know if the villages have the same kind of life. But when I was growing up, it was a common sight. In the morning, the cows would be taken to grazing grounds and they would graze the whole day. And then they would be driven back. And there used to be common grazing ground, and there were large swaths of land. In the evening, these cows would return. Nowadays, the area of grazing grounds has decreased, and in many cities, you will see that the cows they just roam around in the streets. Very pathetic sight. So he says, as warriors to the steeds, to their steeds. Till the other day, warriors used to mount their steeds while going for a battle and cattle to their village. Once it is evening, cows return to their village, wherever they might be. In fact, so funny, recently I read a very funny story. Someone's buffalo was stolen, and the fellow who stole, he stayed in a village which was some miles away. The actual owner found it out and filed a police complaint, and there was investigation, and both the parties claimed that the buffalo belonged to him. Then the officer in charge, who is known as officer in charge, he thought of a wonderful method because the buffalo had already been living for some time with the new owner. So he said, okay, fine, let's do one thing. Both of you stand at a distance on the road, and buffalo will be kept in the middle and then let loose. In whatever direction the buffalo goes, he will be treated as the real owner. Surprisingly, he said that both of you have to be on the opposite direction of your village. And once the buffalo was released, buffalo went to the original owner's village. Towards that. A matter was decided. There was no doubt about it. It was very clearly said that the ownership will not be decided by the person, but by the village. Consequently, by the direction of the village. Such a funny thing. So the buffalo went in that direction. And as mother cows hasten to their calves, if you have lived in a village, only then you can understand what exactly it means to say. Mother cows, when they feel that their calf is hungry, they just come running. No one can stop them. Vashe vatsam sumana duhana. And then he's added a beautiful expression. Patiriv jayama bhi. And as man goes to his wife, it's the most beautiful relation that one can think of. Man going to his wife for everything. A good wife takes care of everything of a person. So for everything, a man will go to his wife. So may Savita come to us, heaven's bearer, adored by all. Savita, the god. Savita, as we have explained earlier, is often equated with sun, but Savita is actually an independent god. And symbolic of the morning sun. Says that, so may Savita come to us. See the beauty of it. It doesn't say that, may I go to God? May God come to us. May I have the devotion for God, and may He come to us. The examples that have been given there, it says that God was His speciality, loving, caring, and majestic. Some of these prayers that we will see, is so beautiful and so tender, so full of love. We'll look at some of these prayers in the next talk. Let's end here. Thank you so much. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.